Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Thank you for joining me this nice Sunday. I totally forgot to get music going, but we're just going to be doing a random hobby hangout today. I'll get the rest of this stuff here set up in a sec. Basically, we just moved into our new place recently, and I actually cut my finger up something fierce hanging up a whole bunch of like shelves and stuff. So this is actually the second time actually got a chance to sit down and paint anything with a usable hand. And we'll hop down here to the painting table and take a look. So, let me get some music playing for us because I always enjoy that. Again, everything here is going to be ad-free, as much as I have control over ads. And I hope you enjoy it and consider me when you're thinking of buying something. I got some affiliate links for everybody. And where's it at? I have a painting list. Here we go. There we go. Nope, desktop audio is all the way down. Okay. And let me know if the music ever becomes an issue. So, what are we painting today? Let's grab it. We are starting on this. Doesn't look like much until I start pulling baggies out. You see, it is a hidden Wraith Knight. I have this... Okay. I got a hell of a story for you guys, and it's applicable to all Games Workshop games. So I'm going to be talking about 40k, but the same thing is very true with AOS, and so if you have examples from Age of Sigmar, I would love for you to throw them in the comments. So, okay. So I move to a new town. Okay, town of just outside Des Moines. And Des Moines, Iowa. So if you're in the Des Moines area or central Iowa, what's up? Say hi. Come check me out at Game Castle. So we moved there, and I got plugged in at let known about a few different hobby groups. Oh, my phone's causing some feedback with the speakers. And I went to a local Warhammer night. Now I'm going to say it very clearly, everyone was exceptionally nice. So if I met you there, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I hope that I went out of my way enough to extend or show my gratitude. But people were really cool, and I had a great time. I brought my Eldar, and the second I told people what I had, there was an awkward air in the midst. That's how I will describe it. I felt that way, of just the intense eye roll, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't want to ask, like, what? You know what I mean? Like, sound confrontational. Well, it turns out that there is another gentleman at that store, I believe he's an employee, who also plays Eldar, but he plays them specifically with like a competitive edge in mind, so he does the power gamey stuff. Like, and to his credit, that's just what he enjoys, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But he definitely colors the picture of the faction. How about that? And it is a faction that has a lot of balance issues. And so, well, at least it did. There was, I don't know about now. I know they took a hit with the new nerf, but nobody really focuses on the nerfs, you know, when something's too good. It's always like, oh, they're still amazing. Oh, they're still unbeatable, no matter how much you nerf them. Which isn't true, but whatever. So I'm listening to a lot of griping about an army that I have yet to, like, actually play. I have played one small game with my buddy Jeremy, and that was basically it. So, I finally got someone to play a game with me, and as I should have expected, they went hard. They went hard, not because they didn't like me or wanted to crush the new guy or Baby Seal Club or anything like that, but because, again, their perception was colored. And the whole time we're talking, I'm walking through like, yes, this is a narrative force. Not all Eldar are the same. I actually took some specific weapon choices that were suboptimal because I wanted to have fun. But I did that whilst they armed themselves to the teeth in an imaginary arms race. And so I was like, okay, I had a great time. That was Mayhem and Ames, Mayhem Comics and Games. So I had a wonderful time, made some good connections, jumped into their Discord. Very nice folk. Got to know some really nice guys, and was able to help them out in the search for some decals. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm like plugging into a community. I love this. Then I went to my local store, the one right up the road, which is Game Castle in Ankeny. And I love that store. I adore it. They have so many products and that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, they don't really do much online, so I would love to have them as an affiliate, but not quite there. But anyway, that's all on the side. I go there for their Thursday night, Warhammer night. And because it's a different group of guys, got the exact same welcome. What do you play? Eldar. Eye rolls. And I was like, this is not fun for me. I was having flashbacks to when I played Bone Splitters for the first time, way back in the day, when AOS 1 dropped, and they were like one of the first factions to have a battle tome. People didn't want to play me. They were just like, no, I'm not touching anything with that. And I was like, but I'm not playing the thing. The thing, if you don't know, when the first battle tomes dropped, battalions made stuff like so unbearably wonky. One of those was a Bone Splitters battalion. I'm not going to go into it, but basically it was just a lot of shooting, and it just wasted a lot of time. So he's like, oh, I don't want to play against that. I'm like, but I'm not doing that thing. Like, there's very specific stuff that's good in this faction. Just because you saw on Reddit that people are butthurt about it. You know what's not good? Vipers. You know what I have 3 of? Vipers. They're the worst. They have some use, but anyway. So, again, another game where my fluffy Oathway list came out, and the opponent came out swinging full force with, what was he playing? Oh, he was playing White Scars, a beautiful White Scar army. He just started it. I believe his name was Mike. Did an absolutely stellar job. I wish I had taken pictures, but it's my first time there, so I kind of want to be in the moment. I don't want to be on my phone. And the same thing happens. A lot of complaints and whining about power level and this other guy who's a power gamer. And then we go to the table and I get absolutely curb stomped. And after that, I was just like, you know what? This ain't worth it. It's just not. I don't have an emotional connection to the Eldar. I mainly got these as a painting project, which I did say on stream if you want to go back and quote me. I've just always wanted to paint some Eldar. And this was a killer deal, and so I'm like, I'm going to swap this army. I don't want to deal with any of this. And it reminded me of the same thing with, of course, my my Bone Splitters, as I mentioned. But I think another really great example of this that I had, where it's not shaming to make you feel bad. It's more just I'm dumping my dislike of the game balance thing onto my local player because that's the only point of reference I have. So nobody was rude to me. Nobody was like, I'm not going to play, this is garbage. It's just a lot of staring at it and being like, I don't think I want to. Anyway. So we get through this game. I got absolutely crushed again. I'm like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't think the guys locally enjoy Eldar because of specifically one competitive gamer, when I think the overwhelming majority of them tend to be more narrative focused, which is great. That's exactly what I want. It's just, again, preconceived notions of what Eldar means. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to sell off the Eldar or trade them. I want a 40k army, but I want something that, quite frankly, gives me more range of power. By that I mean Eldar are either insanely good or I run them and they're hot garbage, right? But if I got good at them, do I want to is this an army I want to invest in and expand in and actually learn how to play? And the answer is not really. Like, I wanted to paint some cool stuff. I did. So you might ask yourself, well, Doug, if you're going to get rid of them, why are you doing this? Well, there is a local friend who has a Gene Stealer Colts army and a huge one, and she really just wants a painted army. I believe she's into competitive play. I don't know. I don't really follow, but I know that there's a big event called Iowa coming up, and people get really stoked about that. I think that's what it's for. But anyway, she wanted a painted army, and so we did an even trade where just army for an army. And you know, I was kind of looking at it. I was like, I kind of feel a little uncomfortable because I feel like I am getting more models. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you do the math on how much it would have cost to sell these and then get a painter to paint something, actually it kind of breaks even. So I was like, oh, okay, I actually feel pretty good about that. So tomorrow I'm going to be grabbing that. But yes, the story I had was, it reminded me a lot of Flesh Eater Courts when their first book dropped. Was it their first? It might have been their second book. When because that's when Subfactions came out. Gristlegore just shot them to the absolute moon and back, and people like were outrageous. Well, at my local store at that time, which was Mock Sporting House in the greater Seattle area, that gaming group, like when someone showed up for their first game of AOS, like, hey, I got these cool models, and it was a Flesh Eater Courts army, the collective groaning I heard, and I just immediately was like, stop. Like, no, we're not doing this. We are not crapping on anybody. The dude likes crazy vampire undead living minions, and who can fault him? But of course in this I wasn't really in control of that group, so I was just like, nah, I'll just take note of how people respond. But yeah. Anyway, so I told my story. This is how I got to painting a Wraith Knight. So I promised I would finish the minis that I have left, which is really just the Wraith Knight, these weapon attachments that are all magnetized already, and then I have 2 support weapon platforms, but I mean, if you've seen the Eldar support weapons, there's not much to them. It's a dude and like I don't know. It's kind of a vehicle that you can make in like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You just have one fat flat platform and then like a sail. That's pretty much what a weapon support platform is. At least with this scheme where I'm not doing any freehand. Give me 1 sec here. I'm trying to get really good about cleaning off my dry brushes. Because I found it's the only kind of brush that I can't do the patented Doug special of just leaving it gross for several hours. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to check out the chat here. Hey everybody, Tough Fudge Cookies might be moving from the UK to Des Moines in the next few years. Very cool. Happy to hear there's a good Warhammer scene. There actually is an incredible Warhammer scene. And if you do go to Des Moines, they have a game store called Mayhem. It's technically in Clive, Iowa, but it's like a sub-district of Des Moines. And they can accommodate colossal events. There's just not really anyone running them, and I hope to change that, especially for Age of Sigmar. Spets, yeah, hey buddy, it's been a bit. Ogren Mod, hey. You live in Des Moines now? Yeah, the greater area. Ankedy's kind of a weird in-between, about to get eaten by the cancer that is megacities. Much like every place I lived in San Antonio. It just kind of kept expanding and eating more of the state. Game Castle is the one that sells AK paints? Yes, they do, and they're fantastic. And their store staff is so cool. I just picked up 40k the last few months as well. I love it. I'm trying to build a Tyranid force, but I have no clue about army setups. Just looked cool. So a lot of Tyranid warriors. Warriors are great. I'll be the first to say I don't know, of course, a ton about... I'm going to tighten up my camera reins. I see it shaking a smidge. I don't know a ton about Tyranids. But I will say that they don't even have a complete model line yet. They just announced a whole bunch of stuff that's not released yet. So nobody knows how to make a good Tyranid army. Rejoice! There's something comforting about that. You can't do it wrong if there's no way to do it right. You're just doing it. Let's see. Did you get Bone Splitted again? I did. Not in the same way though, because I truly did enjoy Bone Splitters, and now I have that army back, and I have no intention of getting rid of them. And I know I've said that, you can trademark that here on this channel, but as of right now, I do not. I actually enjoy my orcs an immense amount. Age of Sigmar kind of went in a direction that I'm not like the biggest fan of, in terms of like all the things you have to remember, and Bone Splitters are still, in my opinion, the most straightforward army. And if I'm gonna play, that's what I'm here for. know, it just occurred to me whilst streaming that I never actually set up my light that I use. I'm painting all this by sunlight, and that's kind of nice, actually. Okay, let that sit for a bit. Very cool, Spets. You got Star Set for Demons. Hope you've eaten at Hickory Park. And Machine Shed. Yes, I have both of those. Fong's Pizza is amazing. It's a Chinese pizza restaurant. Pyromancer. So they lasted a month in your collection after painting. So not bad for you. Exactly. Exactly. They're getting a little long in the tooth. I was about to make a terrible joke, but I'm going to hold off. Anyway. We'll move on. Has there been a GW article released yet today? I was kind of waiting for Sunday previews. I'm a sucker for the fear of missing out. Yes. As a FAQ player, I'm so pumped for the new Moss Scroll Herald. Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, I apologize. I am going to skip ahead, folks, just simply because I fell far behind. So if you have a question and I missed it, please just ask again. I now have the chat kind of set up where I can see it a little better. I didn't think of that. AOS has factions for any kind of player, unlike 40k. Loving your faction videos. Are you planning a soulbound role-playing stream? I was for a hot second. And I have since, thinking about that, played a number of role-playing games and decided I don't think they're for me. I don't know. I just don't think they're for me. Part of it is certainly a learning curve. It's a different kind of game with a different kind of demand. I don't know. I just really struggled on a few nights that I played with some fam. And they were fine. Like, everyone was very inviting and kind and whatever. It wasn't about anyone making me feel crappy. Just didn't like it. I had a great teacher. I had a fun time playing a one-off D&D thing with Spezia in the chat. And then I played a few rounds of Pathfinder with my brother, and he's great. It's just like whenever you get into a new hobby, like when people join Age of Sigmar and we start throwing around terms like feck and doc, and we know what those things mean because we're in the community, but a new person has no freaking clue. That kind of stuff. There's a lot of like nomenclature and shorthand that I was just like, I don't understand. Like, you're not communicating to me. You're saying things. They seem to be words. And I'm looking at my brother like he's, I don't know, Charlton Heston from Planet of the Apes. I think it's trying to say something. I missed what army you traded the Eldar for. What was it? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, Gene Stealer Colts. Yes, doing a Gene Stealer Colt force. And I was looking, I'm gonna go with... I haven't decided on a color, so maybe that's something we can all workshop together. But what I want to do is have the vehicles, and obviously other stuff. I want them to look like they're miners, which is pretty easy given all the crap about them. Right, they look like miners. But color scheme wise, I want something that's very... It's not the gray standard vehicle, but I do want it to look really rough and old and faded. So I was thinking, like, you know, if you Google pictures for like really old construction vehicles or something like that, usually they're faded yellow, which is cool. I could do that pretty easily. Yellow is easy for me if I'm not trying to make it clean. But I've also... The only color I just simply do not want to do is orange. I don't care for orange. But what do you guys think as far as construction vehicles go? I don't know. Do other countries use different colors on their construction vehicles? Like, I know ambulances here are generally white, and in the UK they're like, I don't know, highlighter green or something. Let's see. What kind of white is that? It looks great. This is the Pro Acrylic Signature Series Ninjon, another YouTuber who does painting tutorials. Him and Vince Ventrella got like fancy paints made just for them, and so it's like a... I'm trying to think of a good color equivalent. Think of it as like a little bit, kind of a mid-grade between Xandri Dust and Ushabti Bone, with just kind of a hair in the Ushabti Bone direction in terms of like your bone kind of color, your ivories. But yeah, I love it. I bought it to do a review, and then our timetable for moving got rushed unexpectedly, so I was like, oh crap, no time, gotta paint. But I will eventually. I will say I also, in the process of moving, pruned my paint collection. I think I dropped off a thing of about 30 or 40 paints at a local store. I was like, you guys do open painting on Sundays? Yes. Take these. They are for the people. And I just cleared them out. I was like, I simply do not need or use this many colors. I can mix things. I got myself a little mixing journal. So I downsized everything so it fits neatly on one of my arrays of my my little 3-tiered rack rather than taking up the whole thing. The only thing though is that I don't feel like Pro Acrylic has like, they have ivory, but it's not the same as the Ushabti Bone that has just kind of the slightest dash of, I think, like an ochre to it. I don't know. It just seems a little bit warmer. I think. I don't know. I don't know art words. It puts the paint on the model. Good morning. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. I'm looking through the comments right now to see what people have suggested. Jordan Fletcher, I've been playing Magic the Gathering for more than 10 years and I still don't know any to talk about most of the time. Hey, fun story. I actually just started playing Magic and jumped in real hard. In the chat, Pyromancer introduced me to the game, and I'm having a great time. Crushing some arena, just to kind of learn the basics of the game, like how effects stack and timing and that kind of stuff. I don't much care for the formats that it has. I prefer to play Commander, but it's good for getting reps in with how things function. Let's see. Hans. Hey Doug, I found a great narrative story tool. It's AI. You can do so much with it if you search story for Warbands AI. Yeah, that's rad. That is rad. I probably won't, as you know, AI is going to replace me at some point once you just plug an AOS lore book into it. But I do appreciate it, the tool that it is. And I look forward to the next stage of humanity when we figure out how to coexist with it. Or suffer at its hands. I don't know. It could go either way. Fitty-fitty. Okay. What do I got? I've easily spent over 300 bucks on Lord of the Rings magic cards. Yeah. Oh, I missed some stuff here. Let's see. Trying not to let myself fall behind. When you do find a new hobby game you like, you'll be willing to ask questions to learn more, and not games for everyone. Hey, let's see. In Greece, we use orange and yellow and black. Interesting. I see a lot of old tractors that are faded blues and reds. See, I was thinking about tractor equipment like that. There is a really cool faded blue that, like, I don't know what color it used to be, but with age it kind of has like a seafoam thing. Like all the blue pigment is probably just destroyed by the sun bleaching. So I don't know what color it originally was, but it's like this nice faded blue. I was like, oh, that could look sharp. My only thing is I don't want them to get kind of like too close to seafoamy type green, because I also play Sons of Horus and Horus Heresy, and it's like I don't want to paint the same color for too many armies. I could see myself doing orcs in 40k and orcs in AOS, because it's just kind of one big orc army at that point for Games Workshop. Alright. Oh, that's not even an arm. Okay. What else do we want to get? Let's do one of these little... And I'm being messy because I'm going to go back over the black for cleanups later. That is always the plan. Plan to make a mess. Are you working on any new games? Not at the moment. My brain's bandwidth is at its max right now. So I actually leave on the 27th to fly down to Texas to help move my mom up by me. Her husband passed last year, and so she's moving up now that everything has settled down a bit. Okay, Commander is away. Arena is best for new players. Historic Brawl is Commander. Wait, Jordan, Historic Brawl that's the same thing as Commander? Explain that for me. With the Dawnbringer Crusades, who do you think will get new models? There's still 7 factions left. Who do I want to get new models? You know, I really can't think of a faction that I don't want new models for, with the exception of maybe like Lumineth. It seems like they have a lot going on. They have a lot of releases. Those books get invalidated pretty quick. Trying to think. Okay, so Chaos factions. Skaven just needs a lot, but I'll settle for a new dude that does something cool. but make it something different. Like make it something that makes Molder units just absolutely stunning or something like that, you know, because at least that way we can get like, oh man, are they going to do stuff in the future? Like, you know, you can be excited to use new stuff now and be excited for possible Skaven releases in the future. I would not mind a... Oh, what about a named Varengard character? Like, because we had reference to them being in the story in the first Dawnbringer book. They were the ones who got all of the Nurgle wizards together and forced everybody to do a spell. All right, guys, teamwork makes the dream work. We need to get this stuff together. Archaeon's breathing down our necks. And so, yeah, I would love to see, and it could just be like a named Chaos Lord type thing. That'd be cool. Maybe something in between the Crackerjack and Archaeon himself. It's kind of, well, as I say, that's kind of where I'd put like the Griffin for the free guild stuff, but that thing's pretty big. But I mean in terms of like a relative power to a Chaos Warrior or whatever. Oh yes, I would love a L'Oreal. I mean, she started the whole dang thing with the Right of Life, and then ghosted the scene. Like, she hasn't really done a whole lot. I mean, oh, that's not true. Yes, she started the problem by releasing Kragnos, and then has been hanging out shooting a waterfall over her people. It's like, well, this is not a long-term solution. Okay, come on. Did you like the new D&D movie? I have not seen it. Oh, I got a question from Willie. Oh, thank you so much, Willie. I saw you gave earlier, and I breezed right past it because I was trying to catch up on the chat. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you. Question. If I'm in my garage, but it's raining outside, can I still prime? It's not exactly airtight, but it is fully closed. Would there be too moist in there? Yeah, I think, Willie, I mean, I've done stuff on days that were fairly humid. In like, we have this kind of like Four Seasons porch, but it's kind of a closet thing at our last place. And I would spray in there and just bring it, yeah, immediately inside, and it was never an issue. Painting before the eBay sale? No. I took the eBay sale down. I found a local trade for a Gene Stealer Cult army that I'm interested in. That's part of the deal. There was like 3 models that weren't painted, and I wasn't going to if I sold them on eBay. But we can knock this out pretty easy. Honestly, the biggest pain in the butt isn't even the Wraith Knight. I mean, that's the biggest model. It's just the Wraith Knight and a few little things here and there. Like there's 2 weapon platforms. Those guys will paint up exceptionally fast. The thing I'm not excited about is all the different weapon bits, because they just take time. They're tiny. And they don't feel rewarding. That's the big downside. You know, kind of like some people feel about terrain when they're like, you know, like I just don't get to play it the same way I get to use an army thing, so I'm less jazzed about painting up terrain. And it's like, well, yeah, I feel the same way about weapon options if things are magnetized. Which is generally why I don't do it. I was trying to see if I want to paint this center panel bone or not, and I do, because I think I want to break up that black. And if nothing else, I can put my signature teal stripe across it. Let's see. Hello, finally. Doug attended one of your live streams. Hey, buddy. Just gotta say, I love your channel. It's everything I love about that. Oh, thank you so much. I try. I definitely try. Once I can make it through to next month, I'm really hoping to kind of jump in with both feet. Like I said, at the end of the month, I'm going to help my mom move, so it's going to be very, very tiring. But after that, once I'm recovered, very excited. I got some interviews lined up. I got some game design stuff. I have a nook in this new place specifically for doing small, like, battle reports. Simple things, nothing like a big, you know, rerolling one style or mini wargaming style either kind of thing, but just something simple. Oh, if anyone sees Vince Ventrella or Adam Loper, because I don't chat with them like casually every day or anything like that, they'll be happy to know. So I was accidentally sent an extra copy of their latest game, Majestic. Is it 13 or 12? I can't remember. So I was sent an extra copy of them by accident. And there's actually a good friend of mine here locally who he played Warhammer back when he was a kid. And been out of the game wheelhouse, Games Workshop sphere for a while. And he was like, "Have you heard of this?" And it was he showed me a game called, I think it was Plastic Bastards, like a miniatures agnostic, you know, not Mordheim equivalent. He's like, "I'm so excited about this because you can use whatever miniatures you want." And I was like, "Oh, bruh." And so I brought over a whole bunch of games that was really like that. I just I brought over, what did I bring? I had all three of the Snarling Badger games. I brought over, yeah, Majestic 13 or 12. I had Space Station Zero, Rain in Hell, and then I brought you Sega by Blacksite Studios. And I just laid them all up there. I was like, "Pick your kind of fantasy, dude. This is awesome." And he just, like, his face melted. So because I had the extra copy, I gave him a copy of Majestic. And his draw hit the floor when he started flipping through it and was just like, "This is the single greatest thing ever." That's all. Just wanted to throw that out there. Brawl is also Commander-ish, just with 60 card deck, and it has to be standard cards. Oh, okay. I'll check that out. Cool. Finally attended one of your live streams. Just gotta say, oh, thank you so much, Jonas. I read that. Building my Melusai at the moment. Nice. What do you think about the new City of Sigmar models? How do I feel about them? Good. I like them. They are my kind of fantasy. I know they're not everybody's. But I really do like the direction they went when it comes to just, like, I don't know. They kind of have this sort of not quite Dark Souls vibe that I really enjoy. And I know some people really like the kind of, we'll say, traditional fantasy and or more whimsical city stuff. But to me, it's like, dude, if an eighth of what they say about in these, you know, silly lore books about how dangerous this universe is, if an eighth of that is true, these dudes need to leave the house armed to the teeth with a 13-inch thick steel-plated cod piece, you know, like anything less is suicide. All that to say, people complain about them being a little bit overdone. I love the hell out of them. Now, will I start an army of them? Probably not. Because I am so beer and pretzel-y that I'm like, you know what? I think I'd rather just take my bone splitters out. And then whenever they get rid of bone splitters, I'll find the next simplest army and I'll just invest heavily in that. Let's see. Ogre Mod. I don't understand why 40k lore is more popular when everything has been said a million times, while AOS actually has new stuff being found. Well, so here's the thing, Ogren. It's always somebody's first day in a hobby, right? Like, right now, somebody is like, what the hell is that? Pointing at a Space Marine cutout or something like that. Ideally, anyway. And so 40k is more popular because of the sheer weight of material. It does not matter. Even if they all said the same thing, if there's enough of it and it captures people, once they get in, the depth of things that they have to say is a hole you can fall in for a very long time. So you say that as somebody who's seen the things and read them, but for a new person, it is a overwhelming... Not to say overwhelming. It was a deep valley to plunge into where everything is totes new. And like, yeah, AOS is being developed, you know, I guess in real time now, if VK is as well, kind of, but when someone finds a new AOS book, that depth isn't there. There's more new stuff, for sure, but its locker is woefully empty. And honestly, I think this is the first couple years of AOS's release. The first year they did really good, push hard into it, because I think they were very nervous about the product. And then when it ultimately went off like a wet fart, then they backed off hard, because the second year AOS was out, there was like very little support. I mean, they were just like, get wrecked, nerds. Here's a book here and there, but you know, once they had spent all that money on the Realmgate Wars campaign, and those books sat on so many shelves, and then they had to pivot and spend a whole bunch of more money to save it by making the GHB. I don't know. I just feel like they were just kind of done for a while. So the well isn't as deep as it could be, and even at best of times, it's nowhere near as deep as 40k is in terms of the amount of content. Let's see. It's all Starship Trooper, yeah. My main issue with 40k lore is mostly that they're starting to tell... They start telling stories and then kind of drop them. That I do agree. Yes, I do agree that Games Workshop loves creating plot points that are never circled back to, which is why I was like so dubious when, you know, and then when they don't do that and they actually do circle back and then answer the questions, they're awesome. Like, for example, is Marathi ever actually going to get what she wants and become a god? No, no way. And then she does it, right? And of course there was like a mechanical reason for that too in the game, but that's not the point. The point is, like, they push something forward. I can say, like, oh, well, that makes me think, is Grimnir coming back? Why not? That'd be a sick way to end, like, a campaign season. And launch a Fire Slayers redo, where they finally stop acting like cowards and give us baby Magma Droth cavalry. I do agree. I think that's the biggest thing with 40k lore. And, you know, to the point, Ogren Mod, you mentioned this before, of that, like, they can't say anything without it contradicting something else. That is a way to look at it. The way that I have always viewed Games Workshop publications is only the most recent thing is true. And by that I mean, right now, if they came out with a book that was like, guys, this is the definitive history of the Blood Angels, and it was different from what, you know, Codex Blood Angel said 12 years ago or something, my thought is just, oh, this is the new history. It's just written in real time. It's always written in past tense. It's just like, so you can just change whatever you want. I said that before regarding, like, female Space Marines, and I know people disagree with me, and that's fine. But, like, if they wanted to, in the next book, they could be like, as far back as we can remember, there's always been female Space Marines. And, well, for the new player who picks up that book, that's the gospel truth. But, again, I don't think they would, you know, segue a change that big, that flippantly. But what I'm saying is that whatever is most recent is, I don't know, more accurate. Because if we were truly stuck to what things were, salamander players would be in leopard print or something like that, or wasps. I don't know. There was some weird thing. But they do change things. Horus Heresy should have stayed as mythology. I have mixed feelings. Like, I play the game system. I do enjoy it. I think it's a fun game. I like being able to play a 40k style game that has much more of a historical game feel. I think that's a very unique flavor. I tend to agree in that, like, I didn't need this many details fleshed out. Some things are cooler if they're a mystery. But I also appreciate, frankly, the amount of work that went into those books. Some of those are killer. Had black and yellow camo, like real. Okay, that's what it was. Really love the Horus Heresy range. Sorry, just got in. What are we painting? We are painting up a Wraith Knight. Doug, are you going to read Children of Teclis? It's relatively short, but has great Lumineth, Realm Lords, and Deepkin interactions. And the fate of Nagash's body. Oh, I might. The last thing I read was for the Horus Heresy book thing, and then my co-host Dan went on a country road trip in a new RV that he got, so I was very excited for him. And then, of course, all these moving things I've been doing got in my way, but I hope to get back to that. All that to say, no, I'm not reading anything as of this exact second, so that might be worth checking out. Let's see. Master Shake old colors were amazing. Green with flames, boring marine scheme. Yeah. Let's see. Ethan, does Doug have a tattooed wedding ring? How is that something I've never noticed? I got this 2 days ago. Yes. Thank you for noticing. Oh, I loved it. It was great. My first tattoo. My wife published her 100th book, and we wanted to do something to commemorate it, so she got a beautiful tattoo of a book on her arm. She has a sleeve of like flowers and stuff, and the other one she put a book on to celebrate. And so and side fact, I need to get my ring resized. It was just, I don't know, I scuffed it up and I just kind of messed it up, and hand got a little fatter, and so it's just looking rough. Like, it just needed something, and I was like, I have absolutely no emotional attachment to this specific ring. It's cheaper to buy a new one than do all the fixes I have to do. And then we did the math, and we're like, actually this would be like $25-50, so we got a group rate because we did her book tattoo and my thing at the same time, so it ended up being pretty cheap. But yeah. It will be 12 years this August. We've been married. She's my best friend. Oh, I love her to death. Congratulations. Oh, thank you. Funnily enough, I think the Cities of Sigmar stuff fits. Oh man, now I've got to think about different acronyms. I don't know what TOW is. TOW. Look more like a death army than an order army. Someone fill me in? It's not. I don't know. Someone tell me what TOW means. I love them. I think they're great. They have a cool Dark Souls vibe. "100 books is incredible. 12 years, it's amazing." Oh, the old world. Okay. I thought you were thinking of a different army. And so I was like, Disciples of Tzeentch. That's the only other T I can really think of. Okay. Thank you. I think and it's also because you shortened the O. Like, I've only ever seen Old World as OW. So when you put the capital H T, lower O, I was like, what am I looking at? Let's go. What else has big areas? This guy. Honestly, for the weapons, I'm going to do a hella ton of dry brushing to make glowing effects. So I'm not terribly concerned about the paint coverage per se, and that was always part of the plan, simply because the weapons are so big. Even when I was keeping the army, that was the deal. Temple of Wizards, yeah. Well, I was like, Tides of War? It was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, who the hell are the Tides of War? And why do I care? Temples of War, yes. Checks is a war. The new gunners look like they don't want to exist. I mean, if I had nothing but that shield and gun and Kragnos was running at me, I wouldn't be too keen on existence either. That's when you just say, check please. Get out of there. What are you doing? I think these are all like, yeah, odd gun bits that kind of get tacked on. I do want to do this one though. Man, I wish we get a new butcher. The concept of a wizard that is literally the guy who prepares food is too good to be such a terrible model. Did he get a new one? I can't remember. Or is it really still that super old one from forever ago? I love the idea of the butcher, like gastromancy, whatever their weird magic is that they do, just based on food. I love it. Someone, when I did what is it, the Nomad Feastmasters, the fan-made battle tome, they were talking about how, like, actually one of the factions that could probably understand them the best is going to be the Ogre Maw tribe, simply because they also, food is such a part of their culture as well. They might not understand like the minutia of each other, but they'll know this is not just food. I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, let's see. In terms of new army ranges, which one currently has the most resin and metal units available? Might be a likely candidate. It's Skaven. Yeah, I think there was a time where they had to really compete with some, well, we would call them Gloomspite Gits now, but they didn't always have a book, where they had a bunch of those early old squig models and stuff, but now it's handily Skaven. I'm trying to think of any other range. Because, well, no, Seraphon, they just cycled out a bunch of the other stuff. What else? By stuff, I mean like they got rid of the Salon kit, they got a new one, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything in 40k that's even remotely close, with the exception of maybe, well, funnily enough, Eldar, with all the aspect warriors. Bone Splitter heroes are all resin. The Savage boss on foot is plastic. Yes, other than that, you are correct. I didn't even think about that. But I guess when I heard the question, I assumed it was like army book, and so, you know, relative to other factions, Auric War Clans has a great wealth of new models. It's just all the derpy, dumpy ones are in Bone Splitters. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Let's see. I'll worry about meaningful weapon choices. How about that? We'll stick with it. So we got 2. Let's see. Seraphon are great now. No need for updates unless they update the story. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Doug, okay. Tie a string to them and make them fly in the ceiling. We're going to Meow Wolf today. We're going to take notes for the game my daughter and I are developing. I have never heard of Meow Wolf. What is that? If it has anything to do with places that you would take your child, that's exactly why I don't know anything about it. The only thing that I do that's even remotely close to a parent's life is commenting on poorly named child's clothing stores. For example, there's one near us that's called Once Upon a Child, which just makes me think it's a whole bunch of dead babies' clothes. Which is super morbid and dark. I understand. I know the problem. But also, that is legitimately what I think of. And I pulled up to it and I was like, oh God, who would do that? Has no one told them? Like, what are you doing? That's a terrible name. I think AOS armies all have amazing lore. Let me try to think of one. Not that it doesn't have amazing lore, but I feel like Soulblight Gravelords tries to bite too much off. Like if there was just... I feel like it's not just a vampire book, right? It feels like there's a lot going on in there because of all the different ranges it's trying to support, but I do like that. It kind of depends, because like when I think of Bone Splitter's lore, I think of the first Bone Splitter Battle Tome, which if you haven't seen that, there's like maybe a solid 15 extra pages of information about them that makes them far more interesting. in my opinion. But it also didn't have the big wall, which I do think is a very orky thing that I'm glad exists, so I'll take it. Meow Wolf sounds like a kid's pop band. Yes, exactly. Meow Wolf is 3D interactive multimedia art walkthrough exhibit. Awesome! It's nuts. It's like a museum, but all the sculpture is psychedelic and you can read a crazy story about parallel universes in each display. George R. Martin owns them. That's so cool. Nice. Well, that all sounds rad. 10 out of 10. Sounds like I would go there. Let's see. What's next? think we'll build up the Shabti bone next. If I can find it. It's always the problem. Here we go. Soulblight should just take a break, I think. Gets Soulblight and Stormcast should stop for a second. I don't know, man. Well, first of all, we've been like, what, 2 years now on a new Stormcast book? Is that right? Am I wrong? Maybe it's over a year. I don't know. I feel personally, Destruction and Death Armies should never have a shortage of releases. They should always be getting something because they, generally speaking, are the forgotten stepchild in the vast majority of Games Workshop publications. Like, if they came out with... every time they released a battle tome for a different army, if there was also, like, here's an ogre hero, or like, here's a Gloomspite Gets alternate pose guy, I would not be mad. That would not be a waste of resources. That would be fantastic. Here's a cool new Necromancer. Thank you. This hobbled old man one is garbage. He kind of looks like Charles Dickens' Scrooge. And I don't want to see his face anymore. You know, and other such thoughts that we all have at night keep us up. So I did the ivory to build up a good firm base, and I'm just doing a thin layer or two of Ushabti bone because that's how I painted the rest of it, and I wanted it all to match very, very well. The old necromancer is a math teacher, exactly. What's happening? Oh, we're just hanging out and doing some painting. I gotta make myself some more room here. I realized I was working off cam because I let myself kind of get bottled up in the corner. So I'm going to throw on this Ushabti bone, and then the teal, put the bottom layer of that on. And then I go back with the black just to clean up all the little edges. And then that sets all the base colors, and then I'll go back with the highlights. Does the Ogre model line have a unique named character? I mean, there's like the Underworld's Warband guy. That's the only one I can think of. Has anybody else got one? Oh, Tough Fudge Cookie. Yep. Drifting away, Doug. Sorry, yes, I am. Bill Murray as Frank Cross, Scrooge miniature. Yes, exactly. It is, Willie. It is, in fact, quite lame. I feel like... Yeah, okay. We'll throw Ma Tribes on there. Let's hope that they get a named character. I don't know if named characters are necessarily on the menu when it comes to Harbingers, but... Cool. Power to them. Lore-wise, they have their Over-Tyrant Glitter Maw. Skag the Blade, Hand Wizard. Yeah, I don't know. Man, if there was like a necromancer multi-kit and he was like they changed him to be like a big part of the army. I don't know. I think that would be really cool. Not quite the glow up that like Be'lakor got. I don't want him to be like that big, but something meaty. Because right now it looks like Nagash's biggest crime is just raiding every retirement home in all of Shyish to build an army of geriatrics. Behold the good old days, and it's just all of his friends from the past just coming up out of the dirt. There's also the ogres from Cursed City. Yes, there are. Gotta give him a bone giant. Yeah, I mean, bone giants existed in the lore of Age of Sigmar. Fun fact, in Nagash Undying King, they bump into what is pretty much described as Tomb King war sphinxes and a bone giant. Like down to minutia. It's just the exact description you would have read in a Fantasy Battles book. That was pretty rad. It was like, bold choice to nuke the army, and then, Undying King came out not too long after the game launched. Where I was like, bold choice. You killed them all off screen, and then you mentioned him. Thought you shouldn't have mentioned him. Thought we weren't talking about it. At the place of the Overtyrant and the Mashab, the previous one exploded in his sleep. Ever play War of the Beard rules in Old World? No, but I think I have some old white dwarfs that mention something like that. Is that what it's from? Texas Wargaming, not Age of Sigmar related, but I was able to get the Surf and Turf bundle off Parabellum for 10% cheaper with the great code of yours. Aw, thank you so much, buddy. I do appreciate that. It's a sweet bundle. I actually, right before we moved, picked up a Nord army, which I'm going to be talking about here on stream. I traded off the Dueg Home for Nords because that's what I wanted at the start of my painting challenge. So now I have Wadroon and Nords. And I think I just needed a painting break from the Wadroon. It just got to be a lot of the same. A lot of dudes. But the nice thing is I actually hammered away at most of the infantry that I'll ever need. And so, now they're previewing these sweet releases. If you haven't seen Parabellum site, go check it out. They have orcs riding Triceratops now. There is what looks like a Brachiosaurus, and seems as though it's going to be a colossal model. As well as some really sick looking giants. But yes, I actually, you mentioned the Surf and Turf bundle. I'm actually painting up my Nords to be a Sea Raider theme. So I did a really cool thing with a YouTube painter, and I'll get the link for his channel here when I'm done with this. But he painted up a Jotnar that has the same... No, not Jotnar. Whatever the big fat hero is, Konungir, who can take the Jotnar, painted him up as if he were the sea giant. So I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is just incredible. There's also the Frost King, but I can't remember his name. I'd love to grab ogres from secondary sites. I will say, as far as ogres go, I actually really like mantic ones. And that's like the only time Aside from undead stuff before Games Workshop released new skeletons and zombies, I think Mantic was probably better at making those at the time, but I love the new GW kits that they got. But the Mantic Ogres, I think, are pretty cool. I can go check here in a sec. I'm not the biggest fan of, like... I feel like Ogre Maw Tribes has a strong... kind of like how Dark Angels used to have a strong Native American theme. I feel like Ogre Maw Tribes have a strong, like, Mongolian appearance and that kind of stuff, and I just never got it. I didn't. I mean, is it in the old world? Is that kind of the area they were, quote unquote, from? Is that region of the world? It was never explained to me. I don't know what I'm doing. Puppets War has great alternative heads, both helmeted and bare heads. Oh, let me ask you this, Texas Wargaming. Can you look up Conquest heads, or do I have to look up a certain size or anything like that? Basically, I'm asking, can I hop on a Puppets War and all the heads actually work? Because I've ordered from them before. I actually loved them. I got some Stormcast heads forever ago. The Nords I have, though, right now are built. But if and when I ever go to expand the army, I will check that out. Yeah, that was years ago, though, I think. I'm trying to remember when I did that. I'll be 34 in 2 weeks. Congratulations. You lived through 2 massive economic disasters, a pandemic, and all you got was this crappy mortal coil. Doug's anti-inspiring quotes for the day. I just put that on a t-shirt. I survived all these things and all I got was this. But also, early happy birthday. I think I'll be on the road at the time, so I won't be live to do that stream. But, happy birthday nonetheless, my friend. Never tried searching, but they're under... Oh, okay. Human head option. Cool. Thank you. I'll check that out. I've never seen anyone go for the samurai helmeted marines that they have, but it's just one of those things I think always looks so cool. Boom. What am I missing? I think that's it. Oh no, his barrel. Sweet. Oh, and his back thing. Okay. Doug, what's your favorite type of shield? Clarifying question. Are we talking real shields or are we talking... Because, like, the answer is whatever this thing is. These kind of, like, weird digital kind of shields. That's cool to me. If we're going with real world shields, I'm going to say, you know, you're clearly more... I don't know ancient history stuff very well. I'm more like modern history, World War I and II. Specifically World War I I'm more interested in. But what are the shields called that like hoplites have, where they're round but there's a divot in there and you lock your spear in? I like those. That's kind of a cool idea. About to say, I'm not much of a history buff. It's like, then I just talk about being a history buff like all the time. It's disingenuous. Email, blah, 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 blah. You mentioned that Tontor might need to pick up the drum beast. Nothing screams orc more than a huge dinosaur with a gong saying, "Here we come." Exactly, yes. Yes. I know Parabellum, they asked me to paint one up. This is not like DA or anything. It's not secret. They asked me to paint one up. And it hasn't come yet. And I was like, oh man, I'm so freaking excited. I'm going to magnetize the ever-loving snot out of this thing. Between that and my two Apex Predators, it's going to be Jurassic World. I'm highly considering buying a white suit so I can look like what's his putz from Jurassic Park. I don't know why I can't think of his name. The old man, Scottish. Spit? Oh, Spitz. Dr. Hammond. Right? Hammond? I think so. I think he worked for InGen. I know that's the company. Let's see. The best shield is the second axe. I do appreciate that as a stance. Those aren't hoplite shields because hoplites are named after the shield. Hoplon. Okay, well, whatever fictional shield I just invented, that's my favorite shield. We can talk about the name of it, but if I were going into battle, that's the shield that I would make. I would have a spear, and then a scimitar to follow it up. Possibly a hand axe along the belt. I would also settle for the Fusilier shields that have a giant hand cannon loaded in the side of it. That is also that is also a completely acceptable shield. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Privateer Press. Their dwarves, like the whatever kingdoms they call them, I think they had shields that like literally had a gun built into them. I don't know if I'm remembering that wrong, but it was just like, this is the most metal. Let's see. So I need to figure out what I'm doing with all these other little bits here. I think they lock on. Oh yeah, I see. Okay. So then let's paint up a few pairs of weapons. Those are shurikens. We got, that's a hand. Put all the hands together over here. Apologies. I just need to work through this right quick because he has so many freaking options. Interesting. They're not all here. So they must be in the other bag. Very interesting. Okay. Well, I got it. We'll go ahead and start it. Dr. Hammond is played by one of the Attenborough brothers. Holy crap, I had no idea. Is the Wraith Knight worth so much money? I don't know how to answer that question. Are you talking like game wise? Because like he is the hotness that people complain about at the moment. Does he warrant that? I have no idea. I don't know. I haven't brought him out because of the groaning I got when I was bringing my super dumpy chumpy Eldar. Never mind a Wraith Knight. One sec here, I'm just getting some of the little nooks and crannies here. We're going to do a couple coats, but that's alright. Hello there, Lord of all Ducks. Jousting shields, very cool. Judging by my playstyle of Zelda Tears in the Kingdom, though, I can tell you that my favorite kind of shield is any kind that I can put a flower bomb on and then just ride that sucker into the wind. That's the best shield. The one that has a bomb on it. I'm trying to think of an AOS style shield that I really like. I mean, a few Solier's ones I mentioned. I'm trying to think of a fun one, though. I actually really like the Seraphon style of shields, where like it's this nice, jagged, toothy kind of look, like the ones that the Saurus have. I like that. Yeah, no. Orcs don't believe in them, so for the most part, they have some shields, but nothing fun. Working on my Onager Doomcrawler, lots of flat surfaces, and trying to figure out. Interesting. Primary color is black. Well, it's funny you should say that. I'm actually working on my Eldar, and they are also predominantly black. And what I did is I'm doing black and bone because it's Ulthway style. And then I added a teal stripe. And all I'm doing is just singular lines that go pretty much in one direction. Yeah, just to add a pop of color. Let me see, I have a picture here. I think I do. Pardon me. I thought you were leaving Eldar. I am. This is because I found a local trade, and the guy was hoping to get a fully painted army, and so I said I would. There's only 3 models left that weren't painted, and so I was like, "Oh, yes, I can do this for you." Okay, we'll go over here. share screen. Aha, there we go. For whatever reason, my hotkeys are not working all of a sudden. So these are my Eldar, and so you can see bone color, black, and then I just added singular straight lines. Not my fault, black is the best color, exactly. There's the walkers. Wraith boy. There we go. So just put a line of something is kind of what I did. And it's sort of what I intend to do for my Gene Stealer cults. Yes, sorry I didn't answer that question. I'm getting Gene Stealer cults next. Pretty good lot of them actually. And so I was talking about it earlier. Is that I'm having trouble deciding what I want to do. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of yellow, but I want them to look like these were like salvaged construction trucks, which, you know, aesthetically they are in terms of their design, but painting wise, I want them to look like that as well. I just don't want to do the solid slab gray that Games Workshop has as their official scheme. Where'd Jade go? Yes. Go back to the downward cam. Here we go. They look really Star Warsy. I'm not familiar with Star Warsy. I saw this on, I think, Reddit. They had a much thinner blue stripe, but I adore the color. This is Jade from Pro Acrylic. So yeah, I'm gonna play with these paints a bit more. Having a lot of fun painting yellow nids. Nice. Whatever you paint them, it will all go down to the small details of stripped paint and metals and such. Agreed. I agree. What I'm looking to do, I don't know if you ever saw my old school take on Necromunda terrain. I did like this very gross, almost looked like a Silent Hill type thing of having like lines that are all faded out and stuff. Basically, I painted it so that the wallpaper looked like it was fading and falling apart. And so I think if I just add a few chips, I can do that as well. Oh, that was definitely an accident. That's okay. We'll clean that up. There we go. That's a better angle. Can you imagine if they released Groblindar with Dawnbringer's Crusade? Groblindar, I don't know what that is. Whatever you paint that. Yeah, I agree. I start doing normal videos back again tomorrow. Or I have my next one scheduled for tomorrow anyway. So I'm excited to get back to. One line to be thicker, the other one a bit thinner. And we'll touch everything else up along the way. I also, when I do my highlight layer, I'm going to go back and like do like the edges and stuff like that, so it'll kind of capture it all. You mean Noblar. Oh, you mean Grombrindle. Grombrindle, the White Dwarf. The champion among champions. Alright, so now we're going to start putting our G.I. Joe figure together. Ba-ba! Now we got to figure out. I definitely want at least one stripe. And I want everything to kind of be going the same rough direction, at least to the naked eye. Okay, we're going to do a few wraps around the leg. Okay, we don't need this guy anymore. We know what we're doing. There we go. Now we just fill it out. Let's see. I get unreasonably upset by unevenness of lines when I try to freehand them. Oh yeah, for me it's more just I pick a direction, right, and everything moves in that direction, and then I go back and I now give myself 2 opportunities to make these right. And what I mean is, first I'm going to take either the black or tan and shore up the edges so I make sure it's nice and, you know, straight and uniform, and then I can take the highlighter of this color, the bright jade. And what's cool about doing the highlighting thing on the edges, like you saw on the pictures of it painted that I showed, is for some areas, like say this guy here, you will notice if you look at him from the bottom, it looks as if the lines kind of go in the wrong direction, like it bows too much because it's such a curved surface. But what's cool is when you start doing the highlighter stuff, you can actually pull the eye in different directions. So if you do highlighters up front here, and then a lot less in this back area, the eye will see the straight line that it is and connect it to the shoulder and ignore that. So it's like, it doesn't have to be straight or perfect or anything like that, especially if you're doing freehand. But, you know, it's possible. So those are the 2 chances you get. One using color and then one using visual effects. If it was a real G.I. Joe, what's primary and secondary specialization? His primary specialization is in destroying enemy models. His secondary is in making gamers cry. Whatcha? Oh, also, what's its code name? Okay, this is a joke from Futurama, but when they have a G.I. Joe style episode, Bender jumps out of the plane and his code name is Orphan Crippler, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. But I needed to explain the context, because if I... Check out this guy. He's like the Bob Ross of Age of Sigmar. Orphan Crippler. That might be a bit rough. Okay, it's just making sure the head lines up the way I want it to. There we go. We'll get those evened out. And I'm also going to clean it up on the rim here so it looks much more sharp. I think that'd be nice. Let's see. Taking a little break from Futurama after Jurassic Park. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you mean the one that just breaks your soul? Let's see. Good tip. You should do videos for hobby tips. Oh, I'm self-conscious too. Because I look around, I'm like, how in the heck am I going to say this is how you should do anything when I'm friends with people like Vince and... I don't know. Go learn from someone who knows more. I'm going to try to run a local painting day with a focus on 3 Foot Fabulous, as I like to call it. If you are here, you know that. Basically, rather than a painting method, it's more of a rubric so that you don't kill yourself with detail that, quite frankly, no one's ever going to see. So if you put a model on the table and you stand... The way that you stand playing a game is, generally speaking, you're out 3 feet away from your models, like if you're standing above them, or they're out on the table before you, the distance diagonally there. And so if it looks good from there, it will always look good in pictures and stuff. So 3 Foot Fabulous is the way to go. What else do I want to do? I don't really need any blue on the guns and stuff. I feel pretty good. That's going to get a lot of silver action there. Yeah. I feel good about that. Works really well on Eldar models. Yep, exactly. Imperial orphans become commissars in sororitas. Eldar would definitely be crippling them. Let's see. My friend asked me how I do things. I do, and I just point them towards Vince's video. Yeah, basically. I'm actually in the process of doing one of his videos right now where he talked about like making your hobby station better. I was like, oh man, I'm just moving into a place. This is like the actual right time to do this. And then the first tip is spend hundreds of dollars on a chair. And I was like, frick. I will. I was like, immediately had to pause and be like, well, I ain't doing that today. Just move. Moving's expensive. You're less intimidating as you're not a hobbying god yet. Yeah, there's two sides to that, though. Like, I understand, like, I tell people that you don't have to be an expert in something to talk about it online. I mean, heck, if you own a battle tome and you get a webcam or a mic, you have all the qualifications to be a popular YouTuber. But there's a part of it when it comes to technical stuff where it's like, I don't want to like tell someone to do something and then I ruin their models and they're all mad. I will admit though, I have considered doing a hobby series where instead of listening to an expert, what if I had a link to their video, and this would all be with the creator's approval, of course. Nothing would go without that. But let's pick on Vince because I like him. Vince put out a tutorial. This is how you paint yellow, right? And so I watch that, and I give not a review of his video, but of the technique. Like, how hard is this actually to learn? What information could I add to said tutorial that would make it easier for someone who doesn't know what the heck they're doing? That kind of stuff. Of like, it's meant to be like an addendum of, hey, follow me along while I try to do what this guy said. Is this actually replicable? Is it a good tutorial? Because some people are very good painters, but not good teachers. And those are admittedly very different skill sets. That's not shade. Let's see. You have 3-foot fab. I have 8-foot meh. I like 8-foot meh. 8-foot meh is my standard measurement whenever there's a guy with really bad BO at the game store. Let's see. If you... Okay, here we go. Your 3-foot fabulous rule helped me so much with painting. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad it did. Yeah, people asked for a video on it when... what was it called? Slap Chop, is that the name of it? When that came out, it was big. People are like, oh, you should do one for a 3-foot fabulous. It's like, well, it's not a painting technique though. It's just it's a metric of saying I'm allowing myself to stop painting because now perfect is becoming the enemy of good. So it's a point in which you can give yourself permission to stop caring. And the correct way to say it is like the construction worker guy from Futurama. Fabulous. It's the actual pronunciation. It's got to be that Brooklyn American style. You're ridiculous. You look fabulous. Let's see. If you could give KO a range expansion, what would you give them? I think they need a generic Commodore hero, a big ship that's all guns and no transport. What would I give them? Oh, okay. I got one. So, one of the coolest pieces of artwork in the KO book to me is this like dead sky shark image. Like basically there's a big monster in the sky. They hunt it for food and that kind of stuff. I would love to see an expansion that shows us that kind of stuff. What does hunting look like for them? Because if you treat them like whales, then we're looking at a small transport capacity boat that allows the units inside to just have a mass outpouring of violence, specifically in close combat, right? The whale boat goes alongside the whale, they harpoon it, like that kind of stuff. I would love to see that, because then you could have cool rules like, you know, if an enemy unit is hit by 2 of, we'll call the harpoon launcher weapons, I don't know, we'll call it something special, but if it's hit by 2 of those in a turn, it can't move the next round or something because it's 2 harpoons with lines pinning it to the ships, kind of a thing. That'd be kind of cool. What else? I don't know. That's basically my big idea. That's it. That's all I got. That's where I max out. But I'd love to see that, and because that way it could be like 2 or 3 kits, you know, maybe a hero that buffs those things specifically, the Hunt Master or something. But I think that could be pretty cool. You see those cool pieces of side art. I mean, it's a really small image in their battle tome, and I see that and I'm like, it always makes me think, how the heck do you hunt that thing? Hot take: KO doesn't have enough guns. I don't think they have enough meaningful guns. They have a lot of ranged attacks, but for a faction, like, I don't feel like their cannons are cannons. How about that? They don't feel as momentous as I think they should be. They feel like one other thing on a profile to roll dice for / forget to declare your targets and you lose all your shots. My feelings aren't hurt. I haven't been hurt before. I don't know what I'm talking about. Hunting ships for KO with giant harpoons would be freaking awesome. Yes, that's my take. They have a lot of saws and that kind of stuff, and a lot of the aesthetics of their design makes me think of like hunting Moby Dick or whatever, but like they don't lean into it. Typically they go the other way of like, I don't know, what is it and how can we make it ether powered? Like, no, have someone who can, like, you know, either give them some equivalent to flamers so they can do the gunboat thing that orcs do, or they just rip up and douse people in fire from inside their ship, or let them go hunting. Get that harpoon out. Speaking of Futurama, we actually just watched the Atlantis episode when Leela's like, "You're speaking to a woman who owns her own harpoon." And that's how she goes fishing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We'll come back for that. Trying to think of other vehicles I'd love to see for KO. Honestly, for them, I would really love to see some troop diversity. Like, why not have, I don't know. Because we have Argonaut Company. Why not, like, privateers or something? Like, I don't know, some other... Sky Dogs, Ether Dogs, I don't know, something like that, instead of Sea Dogs. But you right now, because you're really your ground troops are going to be Grunstock Thunderers and Arcanaut Company. And you have your blimp boys, of course. They can go sink down and fight stuff here and there, but I don't know. I just don't feel like... I feel, how about this? That a highly specialized faction of dwarves where everybody, for the sake of their own existence and safety, have to lean into a specific role. I don't believe that they max out at Arcanaut Company and Grunstock Thunderers. They got weird stuff in the back, right? They hunting sky sharks. They're mining. There's not really much in the way of mining equipment on them. You know, because they have to be able to like get all these resources that they want to use their fabulous Sky Navy to transport trade for. So like, they got to be able to get stuff. I would also be a fan, speaking of KO, I would also be a fan of not kamikaze stuff, but like the tiny torpedo ships that are like they're the kind of the first submarines where it's just kind of a solo crew or maybe 3 dudes. And they're not intended to like go crash and die necessarily, although that did happen later. But rather, like, you know, they just drop a small submersible. But imagine if you had a tiny ship, right? It's called a dual kit. One of them is a tiny submersible, or he's a flying ship, but goes around and just kind of peppers the battlefield with guns. He's more like a scout unit who's kind of hard to shift because he's a ship. Compare that to the other build that I would do, which is the same format, but this one's meant to be a sky ram. That could be a cool thing too. Like that's also how they could probably hunt some of those sky animals, is you just have one that has a big dwarven looking brick or fist or something in the front and you just plow it into things. So that would be like, it doesn't do much in combat at all, except for when it charges. And when it charges, it's like utter and complete mayhem. And then he can fall back and, I don't know, not charge in the same turn. That would be a bit too much, but do something like that. You know, just do some cool stuff. And then the other version could like lay mines or have a once per game mortal wound. I don't know. I'm just coming up with ideas. The hunt for the Red Dwarf Tober. Yes, exactly. Where we're going, we don't need water. And he just closes the sub hatch and then just lifts off. I'm just laying down a light layer, and then we'll come back later with another and clean it up. This is all going to be painted up anyway, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Sword and board seems to be the saddest variation of Wraith Knight at the moment. So I don't expect this one to get used anytime soon. Kind of like ancient Greek ships that had a battering. Yes, exactly. Yep. And for the other ones, I was kind of thinking like the old fire ships, where they like. I mean, I mainly know them from Age of Empires, but you know, just ships that were armed with little flamethrowers, and they were really only good about other ships. So maybe the other one is it does a ton of mortal wounds to monsters and vehicles or something. I don't know, or like a certain wounds cap. Boom. We are crushing this guy. Okay, so the weapons are coming along. These little guys, I'm just going to do them in a big batch later, so let's get them out of the way. So for the other stuff, at this point, I think I am good to go back and touch up the black with black gray. If you don't know, for this black, it doesn't really quite show up on screen, but I'm using Vallejo black gray. And I always use that because it is exceptionally dark, but if you put black wash on it, it becomes true black, so that way you can still have shadows and stuff like that. KO faction Mornar is, I think, named after the name of Mornar, means sailor in Serbian language. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Was it someone on a comment was trying to say Ossiarch Bone Reapers was named after some region of like Osiarch or something like that? I was like, no, I'm pretty sure they're like osseous bone material. But I mean, that's all up for debate. It's all made up, so it's like I'm very curious as to how they get their inspiration for naming things. Okay, I'm going to finish up the silver on his body. Scourge privateers with different models. Honestly, I'd be kind of down for them to move over. I know that... Are the Dark Elves going away for Cities of Sigmar? I haven't checked. I didn't remember seeing a ton. All those things dropped at a really bad time for me to follow along. Hear me out. Caradron ship based on a moonlander type design, like an explorer craft used for landing on the ground when needed. But the landing feet are also grab claws for extra attacks. I think I have the perfect idea for what you're describing. Yes, we had the same thought. This is called the Charybdis Assault Claw, and it is the most absurd drop pod that exists, in my opinion. Where this is basically a land raider, like a super mega tank for the Space Marines, that they just throw from the sky, comes, crashes down, and what's interesting is this compared to another drop pod is that it can still move and fly and stuff, and it is loaded to the nines with guns. It's got missile launcher racks. There we go. All over it. It's got all kinds of cool stuff. But if you're asking me, do I think the Caradron Overlords need one? Yeah. That'd be awesome. What if you could drop it and then have it be like a piece of Dawnbringer terrain or something like that? Just I mean, they kind of do that with some of the Space Marine stuff already. They have vehicles that can fall out of the sky and just be, but... The most expensive slab of resin in the world, exactly. I have one for my Sons of Horus army, and it is so intimidating. I kind of don't want to touch it. I'm going to, but I'm not in a huge rush for Horus Heresy stuff yet. Although I am planning to do Horsey Heresy this year. Again, if you don't know what that is, a bunch of guys in the greater Iowa area, or I guess Midwest, rent a Airbnb that's like on a horse farm, and it's like this immaculate property. Like, It's the kind of thing you'd go for like a work retreat week or something like that. It's a very nice place. But basically, we play just an entire weekend of Horus Heresy games. First one was last year. I had an absolute blast. And hoping to go back again. Let's make them Tau. Yes. In my opinion, Thunderers are too specialized, and the Arcanauts are too general. KO could use. Yeah, I would love to see like Arcanaut Company kind of become like standard infantry, which they are, but then also like they have so many strange weapons you have to figure out and sort. I'm like, no, give them rifles. Grunstock Thunderers, give them, you know, they're heavy guns. They have all the armor piercing you want. And this other variation of them has flamers or something like that. Like, I agree. One is too generic, one is too specialized. Especially for them being the only two choices. Or I want them to go the other way and give them a billion great options, like say Death Watch in 40k, where it's like, yeah, you have very few models, but like you also get new types of ammunition, and you know, basically you get a toolbox with them. So it's like, oh, okay, it kind of lessens the sting of only having 6 dudes with weird guns. Let's see. Yoda, classic sword and buckler. Privateer Deward would be sick. Yeah. Any thoughts on the epic version? Oh, Epic Heresy. Yeah. I do. I do fully intend to try it. Very excited to. I like Horus Heresy. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. And I like the scale. I like the scale. It's what I think. I know War Master existed before, but I think that is what fantasy battles should always have been, because just for the same reason that people love Total War, it's just the scale allows you to represent these epic battles that we read about in stories, but you can't possibly fit in a 2,000 point game. And so I love it just for the visuals of like, yes, this is what I'm thinking when we were playing this game. This looks more like it than a standard game of fantasy battles, in my opinion. So I like that. I don't know. I'm a little bit torn on the getting rid of all Xenos in Aeronautica, because I just felt like that was one of the big appeals, like just orcs in general in that game, you know. And they came out the Tau and stuff. I was like, that seemed strange to me, but okay. It seems like you could have just I guess they were just trying to downsize SKUs, but I don't know. It was weird. It seemed like a flash in the pan for their life expectancy rather than the game as a whole. But what else? Yeah, I mean, the general consensus locally is everybody here wants to play it. Not a single person plans to buy it or buy the actual models. Most folks here seem to think that they could 3D print something better. I will play the official one simply because I do travel to GW events whenever I can, and so Never want to be in a position where I lose fun because of that. But I have nothing against 3D printed stuff in any way, shape, or form. Excited to see, let's see. They should bring them back and have orcs. Yes, I agree. I talked about this with my buddy, Ned, who's been on this show a few times, or on the channel a few times. But just like, it never made sense to me why there are no orcs in Eldar. Like, just those two. Just those two. Tau don't exist as they do now really at all. Tyranids aren't there. You know, like other factions came along incrementally. Necron's still asleep or whatever, but they have this time period where it's like, these guys make absolute and total sense. And not just that they make sense, but they are also like integral to some of the stories. You figure Reboot, Gilliman, and Lorgar were assembling on what was the planet that got annihilated in that one? I can't remember what name of it now. Basically, when the word bearers... Calth. That's what it was, Calth. They were mustering to go fight a whole bunch of orcs. Now, whether that was actually real or it was just a thing that they said to trap them, I don't know. But the fact that he believed it tells me large orc was still exist. Very much so out there in the fringes of the galaxy. When the old one gave mushrooms thumbs. Yeah, I don't know. I always thought it was very strange, especially because, I mean, just Olenor. Just the fact that Olenor happened. Now, I know there was a book series like The Rise of the Beast or something like that. Did that happen in Horus Heresy times, or was that a little bit forward? I don't actually know. Like there are some early... I'm just reading the chat, y'all. Happened slightly later. Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember, because I know there's like bits of it that are kind of set up for the 40k setting, but I wasn't sure of like how... intense that was. Okay. Just top up here. Iron Jaws model. It sells pig iron. My daughter just said, where we're going, we don't need eyes. It seems like you're doing something right. I think M32. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I knew it was after the heresy, but I wasn't sure like where that falls. I mean, in the Beast book, Vulcan was there for a while. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, I just finished reading. Is it Scars, the White Scar book? With them getting the first one of them getting into the heresy, and I have to say I went from not ever thinking about the White Scars to being like, these are the coolest Space Marines ever. And you know what? That's pretty dang good for a single book to do that. I don't have that a lot anymore. What game are we talking about? So we were talking about a bunch of stuff. We were bouncing around. Epic, 30K or whatever they're calling it, coming back, and I was talking about a book I was reading. White Scars one. It's pretty good. Nice. And just a little up there on the neck. Doesn't need much. This thing's head sits so far low into its shoulders or its neck. Magnus is still doing nothing and doing it wrong. Poor White Scars, no one thinks about them. Hey, you know, I thought that too. And then in the book, they're like, actually, this is actually our greatest weapon. Nobody thinks about us. And this is why we live. Oh, like, oh, snap. Okay. Friends, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our chat here. My voice is getting a little tired and I need to stretch a bit. It's been 2 hours. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is technically a paint commission, even though I don't do those, but it's to wrap up the deal for my trade. And I'm very excited for Gene Stealer Cult. I hope you'll join me as I kind of narrow down some paint schemes. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Stay tuned. This week starts up. Oh, actually, heads up. I have a Caradron Overlords video tomorrow. The next in my Point of View series. We're going to do the history of the Mortal Realms from the Caradron Overlords. So to introduce them as a faction. So I hope you enjoy that as much as I did recording it. And yeah, hope